All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. Today we are just going to do an overview of the One Needs assessment. Um, Kim is going to lead us through the PowerPoint. There is a link to the resources and this PowerPoint in the chat. We are recording this so that we will be able to post it later if you want to come back and reference that. We just want to make sure that everyone knows that this is being recorded. And if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat and I'll be monitoring the chat and make sure we can stop and address things as they come up during the session. Are there any questions before we get started? All right, Kim, you want to take it away?
Okay, sure. Hi, thank you for all for joining us this afternoon. The information that we're going to be providing is a compilation of resources and information from ODE, as well as several things that colleagues of mine have put together in our office to share with districts. And several of my colleagues are on this call as well, and I'm hoping they will chime in to provide information if I forget something. So, and like Eric said, if there are any questions, please put them in the chat box. We want this to be as helpful as possible to you. So please ask questions at any point, because this is all about us trying to provide information to help you. These are some of the things that we hope to cover today. We're going to talk a little bit about EdSteps and what that is. We have lots of resources to provide for you, an overview of the One Needs assessment and the different components of that, as well as timeline information as to when things need to be completed, what different cohorts you're in, and things of that nature. So first of all, I know we talk a lot about EdSteps, but I for one had to look up what EdSteps meant. I just kept calling it EdSteps. I knew what it was, but not what it really stood for. So EdSteps is the Education ODE's system of tiered e-plans and supports, which is what EdSteps stands for, and it's their way of improving the way that the department coordinates and supports schools across all the different departments and funding sources and things like that. The hope is that at some point, after the 3 cohorts, you'll have one plan that you will do, and that will feed into your CCIP, and all the different departments at the Department of Education and federal programs and all of that will be able to use that information rather than you having to do several plans and several assessments and things like that. I've got to see if I can minimize this. Okay. Let's see. Any questions about what EdSteps is? Like I said, I knew what they meant by EdSteps, but I just didn't realize what it actually stood for. So this is the process that EdSteps is taking us through. You do your needs assessment, it feeds into your one plan, that then feeds into your grant application, your CCIP, and the grant financial areas, and then the monitoring takes place by the different departments that are providing funding, and they can all then look at one plan versus numerous plans. Oh. Okay. So as a part of the one plan, and hopefully most of you know this, that you're in a 3-year planning cycle. There are 3 cohorts. You're all assigned to a cohort for review. So the pilot group was required to do that for 2021. So cohort 1 is right now for 2022, and then it keeps going. Then the pilot group will be lumped in with cohort 3. And we have some information on how to know what cohort you're in case that's a question. So this was the timeline. Cohort 1 began for this year, 2021, cohort 2 next year, 22-23, and then cohort 3 in 23-24. This is from the department. The benefits to doing this is that you're only going to complete the plan once every 3 years. You'll review it every year, but the bulk of the work will be done in writing the 3-year plan. This is the timeline that was recently released. I'll click on the link in a second and show you up close. Let's see. So this is just in general what the cohort timeline is, from November to December, what you would do, January to February, and things of that nature. I believe that I put that in the folder for your reference so that as you work through this, the EdSteps process, you'll know what needs to be done at certain times throughout the year. Okay. So for cohort 1, districts will complete their plans in March, but for cohort 1 this year, it's been extended to April 30th because of all that's been going on this year. Plans will then be reviewed by the department and the different departments within the Ohio Department of Education between March and June. Again, the multiple offices review the plans at the same time. And then the Office of Federal Programs will review the funding applications beginning July 1st through your CCIP. Lost my mouse. This is what it will look like in your CCIP as each office looks through your plan and checks off on it. Yes, they've approved it or whatnot. So you would see this in your CCIP to show that the different agencies have gone through and reviewed and either approved or not approved. So I am hoping that you all know what cohort you're in. But if you do not, if you go to your CCIP, and I think Lori's on here. Sorry, Lori, I pulled up Amanda Clear Creek. It will show you right here what cohort you're in for the one plan. And this, and I provided you the link as well to get to this page to show you how to find out what cohort you're in. There's also a list of cohorts, and I believe that Eric has put that in the folder as well.
Yes, there's it's labeled that it has it says EdSteps cohorts, and so you can click on that, and it's just a PDF that says which one you're in according to your district or school.
Okay, thank you. Any questions so far? Yes.
Kim, if I could also point out too, if you could take your cursor up to the independent status.
Yes.
In the One Needs assessment, your questions will be based on your differentiated support status. So your One Needs assessment in terms of the required questions will look very different from another district, okay?
Yes.
So that also tells you what your differentiated status is.
Yes, great point. Thank you. Any other questions about this? Finding out what cohort you're in and your status. Okay.
And please do put your questions in the chat. I'll make sure to pause if I get a question in the chat.
Okay. So in the past, we did the decision framework. Many of us are aware of how long and cumbersome that took to do. And the difference between the One Needs assessment and the decision framework is that the One Needs assessment is more comprehensive. It's across a lot more areas than the decision framework was. So other than that, the one needs assessment still is data driven. It still focuses on just a few high impact items, and it helps you to create a plan to then send to your CCIP. So the only thing that's really changed with the one needs assessment is the comprehensiveness of it across the different areas. These are the sections that are addressed in the one needs assessment, and they are what have always been addressed. This is what you were supposed to address if you were just doing the CCIP needs assessment, the college and career readiness, community and family engagement, curriculum instruction and assessment, fiscal management, leadership and administration, operations, professional capital, and school climate and supports. And like Barb shared, depending on what your differentiated accountability status is, will depend on what questions you're required to answer. You may have sections that you're not required to answer any questions. But you can answer questions even if you're not required. You can, if there's an area that you feel that your district needs to address, then that's certainly something that you could look into the different questions and make a determination if that's a priority. So here are some examples of priority needs that may come out of these two areas. For college and career readiness, the career connections, the early warning system, graduation, post-secondary. This is how they're all linked together. For curriculum instruction and assessment, there's instruction, literacy, math, special population, standards, alignment. Most everyone will have questions to answer in curriculum instruction and assessment, and most will have questions in college and career readiness as well. So when you go into your OHID account, you'll click on the One Needs Assessment app. I think they call them apps now. And it will come up and show you this. And once you get to this screen, then you'll click on this One Needs Assessment button over here. In the past, up until just recently, it said coming soon, dashboard coming soon. Now it's actually functional. And then once you get into the One Needs Assessment, you'll search for your district or your building, or however you want to sort that. And then, okay, this is for SSTs. We are able to look up numerous districts in our region. So then once it would be pulled up, it'll show your different, your district and your buildings underneath it. And you would then choose which one you want to work on first. And you can see over here, it lists your differentiated support status. It lists what the status of the One Needs Assessment is. In progress, not started, started. Do you have any questions about this? What this will look like when you open it up?
Does everybody know how to get to it? To log into their OHID and find the apps and all of that?
I can pull that up if that would be helpful, but if everybody knows how to do that, then that's.
Yep, I don't see any questions. We look good.
Okay. Okay, then you'll get something that comes up like this where you'll have to start the survey. In past years, SST had to start the survey. This year, the districts are able to start their own survey. So we're not required to do that. And yours should say fiscal year 2022. I should have mentioned that before. When you're selecting, let me see if I have that on a different screen. Up here, make sure that it says, this will be a drop down. This is just a screenshot, so I can't click on it to show you, but you'll want to click on this and make sure that it says needs assessment fiscal year 2022 for what you're working on this year. Then once you start the survey, this is what it will look like. And here are the 8 areas on the different sections that you will have questions to answer in. You will have, if the section is starred, like this curriculum, instruction, and assessment, you will have required questions in this section. If there is a circle with an R, that you will have questions in here that are recommended but not required. Same way when you get, so they've pulled up school climate and supports in this example. So if you look, the questions will be listed across here, and you'll notice that these have stars on them in the corner. Those are required questions. Whereas these questions, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, are recommended to be completed. And then the same with question 30, doesn't have anything. So you could answer it if you wanted to, but you're not required to or recommended to. Just that's a district choice. Fancy. I took this from ODE. They're kind of fancy with this. Okay, so make sure that you're doing the 2022 needs assessment. The information that they put together was from 2020, so. Okay, so this is what some of the questions will look like as you go. Sorry. Those of you who did the decision framework, you'll recall that it was just a checking whether or not it was high, medium, low impact or concern, or this is more narrative. So you have more place to add information based on your data. And just remember that all of these questions need to be data driven. So prior to meeting to do the one needs assessment, you might want to get into this and see what kind of questions you're required to answer and make sure that you have those data sources ready and available prior to meeting to discuss the information. Anyone from my colleagues want to add anything? Okay. Okay, so here are once you entered something in the box, once you click out of that box, it saves your answer. There's no save button at the bottom. As soon as you click out of the box, it's saved. And it will show up at the top green that you have answered that question and it has saved. Every section that you have identified as answering questions as required, you will need to do a root cause analysis. And that's really big this year, to do the root cause analysis. And we've had a lot of questions around that. And ODE is really stressing the importance of determining what the root cause of the issue is to make corrections. So we're gonna, farther along in this presentation, we have a lot of information and resources on root cause and ways to determine that within your group. So once you have completed your root cause, then this question will pop up and you will determine whether or not it's a priority need. This is where you will decide, again, don't choose too many priority needs. Try to limit them to things that are manageable. So you would click yes or no, is this a priority need? And then it will take you on to the next question. This section, none of the questions were required. However, they felt like they needed to answer them, which is fine. That might be an area that you've identified within your district or building that is an issue that you want to talk about and come up with a plan to improve. And then once you have all the questions answered in the section that you're required to or that are even there, it will show up on the side here under the sections as green as being completed. Okay, so in this one, they're showing up here that this is in progress, that the completion status is in progress. It's not completed yet. They haven't answered questions on curriculum instruction and assessment that are required, nor for professional capital and school climate and supports. And then it will come up and say that you have questions that have not been completed. So it's not, so you have not completed the entire needs assessment as required. And it will tell you what sections were not completed. So this is where your root cause shows up. This is what, once you have gone through and decided if it is a priority or not, it will show you what the primary improvement area falls under, what the priority was, what the root cause was. And then if there are additional improvement areas that you feel that it crosses over, you can check those. And then this is where you decide if this is something that you want sent to the planning tool, that this is something that you want to address in your CCIP.
Kim, I have a question.
Yes.
So how do you know required versus not required questions? So that has the star
Mhm.
in the box where it has the number of the question you're answering. So
Correct.
in those little boxes, if you look at it, it has all the questions numbered. If it has a star, it's required.
Correct. Let me go back and show you. So it'll show you here in this section. So right here in this curriculum instruction and assessment section, there are required questions. This section, there are not, but they answered them anyway. So let me go back to one that shows you. Keep going. Here. So up here, these are starred. These are required questions within a section. So your section that was over here on this side would show that you have required questions. Then when you get into the actual section, it will show you what questions are required. And there's like a little legend up here. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, he said that's great. We're good.
Okay. Any other questions as I keep moving along? Anything I'm forgetting, colleagues?
You are clear to continue.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I have one more. When disaggregated data is requested, can you paste a chart section of the spreadsheet directly into the narrative box?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't see why not, but you would also need to explain what the data means, not just cut and paste the data. I can't answer that. Can anyone else? Cindy, Barb, anyone? You know the answer to that? I can find out if no one
None.
knows.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but I can go play around and see, but I'm like you, because it's a text box, I would think you could,
Mhm.
formatting might present a problem that might make it a little more interesting is depending on how
Mhm.
it looks when you put it in there. You have to be careful about the number of characters too. I don't know how much space that would take up, but I'll play around in the tool and see.
Thank you. Great point. I forgot to mention that there are character count limits. They're pretty big, but like Cindy said, if you are cutting and pasting a lot of data in there, it might take up a lot of your character space. Other questions? Okay. Which we talked about all this. And then they're saying, are you going to send this to the planning tool or not? So there are questions, there's a list of questions and triggers, and probably, is that something that you want me to pull up? Because that might be very helpful. Shoot. That I know that we put this in your in the folder, but it lists all of the questions, all of the this is the improvement area, those 8 improvement areas. And then the questions are all listed here. And it also tells you what the answer type is, what the required trigger is, whether it's an optional question, whether you're required to do it. And it kind of tells you how it's determined who has to answer what questions. So if that's something that, I'm sorry, I keep clicking on my screen. If that's something that would be helpful, I can certainly pull that up. I think we gave it to you in Excel spreadsheet form so that you can sort the questions, you can expand the column so that you can answer some questions in there prior to adding it into your one needs assessment. So it's a lot more user-friendly than just the PDF that's on ODE's website.
I think we're good to move forward. Nobody expressed
All right.
interest in digging in, so.
Okay. Okay, so then once you have identified the priority needs in that last column that I just showed you, that will then move those into your CCIP. And it will ask you who was involved in the development of the needs assessment and the plan, because they're wanting to make sure that you have all necessary stakeholders involved. So that is something to consider when you're completing the one needs assessment or putting together a team to be working on it. And this is what it will look like in your CCIP, in the needs assessment piece of that. It will show you, like, for example, this is the community and family engagement. No needs have been identified. College and career readiness. They have an improvement area of college and career readiness, career connections, and then they list the root cause for that. And they also tie it into the other additional improvement areas that this would cross into. And then that will hopefully then be turned into some type of goal or action strategy. And then again, down here, school climate and supports, no needs have been identified. So it will show you in your CCIP all of the 8 sections, and it will show you what ones you've identified as priority and what ones you have not. If that makes sense, hopefully.
Kim?
Yes.
I did try to go into the text box. Unfortunately, as an SST, we do not have the ability to enter information into
Oh, okay.
districts one needs. So
Okay.
we're going to need a district to give that a shot for us and let us know. And I think it would be interesting whether you can put a table or whether you can pull from an Excel spreadsheet. And I would imagine both of those might respond differently in a text box. So if anyone does that, give us feedback and let us know what it looks like.
Okay, that's interesting. That is true. I didn't think about us not being able to enter text in there. Okay. So far, do you have questions about one needs assessment? Would it be helpful if I pulled up a one needs
Real quick,
assessment? Yes,
Kim, Carol said she just tried sheet, no formatting.
okay. So you can't put a Google Sheet in there? Is that what she was trying?
Carol, do you want to let us know what you tried? Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay. Okay. And maybe it's not compatible with Google. Would it be helpful at this point for me to pull up a one needs assessment, somebody's one needs assessment, or do you want to keep moving on to root cause information?
I think we're okay to keep moving.
Okay. Okay, so root cause, we talked a little bit about that at the beginning. This is where you're really going to determine what you need to do in your district. What's the root cause of the issue? And then you're going to be able to move forward to put a plan into place to move forward with improvement. And ODE has used robust a lot recently, and we have been trying to define that, but this is a robust needs assessment that we are doing. So you can think about a root cause analysis as this, how you're going to define the gap. You're going to, looking at your data, you're going to determine what or where is the problem, and then determine where you want to be or where you need to be. And then the difference between that is defined as the gap, and that's where the root cause analysis comes into play. So your root cause analysis will identify factors that contribute to the problem. It will use facts or data. You're not just going to say, well, I think, or I feel like. It's going to use facts to support your decisions, and it's going to lead to interventions that are designed to prevent future issues in this area. It's an inquiry process that requires a team and time. And again, uses data to identify problems.
Kim, could I mention, when you
Yes.
begin your root cause analysis, please look at issues that you as a district or a building can control through your adults. Sometimes, you know, we want to bring up issues with the students and why they're not proficient, et cetera. And we call it circling into the rabbit hole of which you cannot get out. And I think ODE would also ask you to rewrite your root cause to where you identify, is there an issue with your teaching staff? Do we need additional professional development? Again, something that the adults in that district and building can control.
Yes, thank you. So it's not the solo process, it's not identifying symptoms. And like Barb just said, it is not identifying causes that are out of your control. Things that occur in the home, you can't necessarily control. So think about things that you as a district or building can change and control. It is also not guesswork, opinions, or beliefs. Again, it comes back to that data. You're looking at the data, you're doing an analysis of your data and facts, but not what someone believes or thinks. So if I did this correctly, I can show you, this is an example of root cause analysis and why it's so important. So let me see if I can, Cindy, you are my Zoom queen. Was I supposed to do something with sound so people can hear if I play this?
Yes, when you shared, you were supposed to do that, but I think you can go up to your toolbar at the top, check under your options. You know, that little green bar right beside that. If you click that on, you might have the option to select from there. If not, you'll have to stop sharing and then reshare.
Yeah, I don't see where it says that.
Okay, so then you'll stop share and reshare.
Okay.
And
Stop
then
share.
just when you reshare, just select that you want to sound from computer.
Oh, got it.
Did you
I
find
learned
it? Yeah.
something new today. No, it says I have to install a Zoom audio device.
Oh, that I've never seen. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, never mind.
Are you bringing up the Washington Monument?
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, let me grab it for you.
So you want me to unshare my screen and you share yours?
Hold on, let me find it first.
Okay. You know
I'm
what? It
trying to
actually
find the
might,
video.
it might just take me to, hold on, it might just take me to,
Yeah, see if it,
it just,
try it and see if it works.
Years ago, the stone exterior
Yep,
deteriorated at the Jefferson
turn it up.
in Washington, D.C., a popular monument in the United States. Repairing the stone or painting over the worn areas was too expensive. So park rangers turned to root cause analysis and started asking why. Why was the stone deteriorating?
High-powered sprayers were being used to wash the memorial every 2 weeks
Why were high-powered washings needed every 2 weeks?
because of bird droppings.
Asking why stopped because it seemed the cause was found. Workers put nets around the building, but they were unsightly, and the birds found ways around them. So it was back to the drawing board, or the 5 whys. Why are there so many birds?
They come to feed on spiders.
Why are there so many spiders?
They feed on insects at night.
Why are there so many insects?
They're attracted by lights that shine on the memorial at night.
With a new cause found, questions stopped, and a plan was created to reduce the amount of time the memorial spent in the spotlight at night, and it worked. The insects were reduced by 90%, and with the root cause removed, the excessive cleaning was no longer needed. An unexpected benefit was a cost savings realized by using less electricity. This highlights how root cause analysis can involve trial and error, and how the 5 whys isn't always limited to exactly 5 questions. Read more about root cause analysis and the Jefferson Memorial story at the link below.
okay. Do I have my screen back?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just an example of asking questions beyond your initial, going deeper, which is why it's called the 5 whys. But as you can tell, they ask more than 5 questions. So it's not a limit of just 5 questions. And we have examples of that that we'll go through here in a little bit. So part of your root cause analysis process is to determine who's going to be on your team. What data are you going to bring to that? What data do you need in addition to the state report card data, since we know that that is not necessarily current data? And then summarize and analyze the data to determine where is your gap. So this, again, goes back to what Barb was talking about, that you're going to focus on your system challenges, not your symptoms. What changes can be made with the adults, not the students? What you can control, not what you cannot control. And then prioritize your most critical area or need. There are several root cause analysis tools, and we've put several of them in the folder. There's also a one-page handout in the folder that has links to various root cause analysis tools that have been used across the state. That was put together by another SST and shared with us. That can help you to then verify your root cause and make sure that you don't have any other need for data. You may find that out of all of this, you don't have the right data to make a determination what the root cause is for a certain situation or area of need. These are a couple of the tools that you can use to conduct the root cause analysis. One is the 5 whys, which we just saw a brief video. The other one is the fishbone. And ODE provides some examples of those. This is one way to do the 5 whys. What's your category? And then keep asking questions. Why is this? Why? And they have some examples in here I can show you. This is the fishbone. It's also called the cause and effect, which some of us would probably just call it cause and effect. It helps you to visualize the possible challenges and helps you drill down to factors that are associated with the problems, and also helps to generate multiple perspectives. So, as a result of your root cause analysis, it's going to help you determine the most significant area of concern, develop a problem statement, and then use that problem statement to focus on your root cause. Here's another type of root cause brainstorming. I don't know if any of you have done the affinity post-it note activity. That's another way to generate ideas. Here's an example of a root cause analysis. I personally think the fishbone is kind of confusing. I like the 5 whys better, but you can use whatever root cause analysis tool works best for your district. This is a result of the affinity post-it note summary. They've put it into the fishbone format. Another one, another example. There's lots of fishbone examples. So these might be things that you would want to use with your DLT or whoever is completing your needs assessment. So this is an example of the 5 whys. The question is, why didn't students master skills in phonemic awareness that are expected by the end of kindergarten? Well, because they didn't receive adequate instruction in kindergarten in phonemic awareness. Is that a root cause? No. Why didn't they receive adequate or enough instruction in kindergarten in phonemic awareness? Because the kindergarten teachers were only incidentally teaching in phonemic awareness skills. Okay, take that a little deeper. Why were the kindergarten teachers only incidentally teaching in phonemic awareness skills? Because they did not receive training based on evidence-based curriculum that the district adopted 2 years ago for phonological awareness. Okay. And why hadn't they received PD on the adopted phonological awareness curriculum? Because when the curriculum was adopted, a reading specialist was trained to train on the curriculum, but she's since left the district. So is this sounding like something that you're more able to control? Yes, you can provide PD to the teachers. So that's something that's within your control, to be able to provide that PD to the teacher so that they can provide consistent instruction and then have that monitored to make sure that it's consistently delivered. Any questions about that example?
We're clear to keep moving. I'll jump in if we get a question.
Okay. These are some other examples that ODE shares. So this is for you to determine if this is a root cause or not. I believe our poverty level, as well as transiency within students, contributes to the impact. Is this a root cause? That is a no, because we cannot control a family's income. What can you control or change or put into place to change things? Adding another counselor to start tracking and analyzing data. We look at credits and develop plans, but probably need to look at additional ways to track and monitor. Would that be a root cause? Is that something that the district could do to correct an issue? I would say yes. Anyone else want to jump in?
No, I agree.
Wow, we are all fired up today on a Wednesday, aren't we? The underlying cause of homelessness is that it destroys many families. We need to improve networking with agencies within our county to support these families. Would that be a root cause of a situation in the district? It is something that you could control. Networking with agencies to support families goes along with community and family engagement.
Right. I think what they're trying to get at is not putting down things like poverty as the issue, but looking at sometimes the factors that go with poverty that you are able to address as the issue.
Yes. And this one is about attendance. If interventions were tracked to address tardiness, then we would see an improvement in attendance overall for all subgroups. There's a need for a flexible schedule option for some students. If interventions were tracked to address tardiness. I'm not sure what I think about this one. Any input? It is something that the district could do. You could track interventions to address tardiness. Okay, so here are some tips for the one needs assessment and root cause analysis. Determine your root cause, decide if it's a priority need. Once you're in the priority needs tab, considering diving deeper into those root causes. And make sure that as a district, are you ready to identify your needs? Do you have the data that you need? Do you have the right team put together? Are you ready to do the work? You know, is your team at a place where you're ready to get down to the root cause? Which means engaging in tough decisions, discussions, engaging without blame and focus on the system issues, not on personal issues, and engage with data, not opinion.
And I think that's kind of what they were getting to with those examples is that if you are in a meeting and someone says, well, the poverty in the district is causing this, you want to be able to say to somebody, what data are we looking at that is telling you that? How many students do we have in poverty? What specific issues can we use data to tie to that and get those kind of questions where they're saying, engage in tough discussions, and just be able to focus it back, to be able to just back up whatever we're going to put down with some sort of evidence, whatever that is.
Right.
Can I add to that a little bit?
Please.
When I did this with one of the pilot groups or the pilot districts, we discovered there were some questions, and in particular, I'm thinking about that homeless question, because some of the questions ask you about effectiveness of whatever you've done. And what they realized were sometimes we didn't track that data. We don't have that data. So there are going to be times where maybe a part of what you're going to do in your CCIP or in the one plan, I guess I should use that phrasing, but some of it as a district, you might realize there are some things where you're going to have to put some systems in place to gather data in the upcoming years because it isn't data that you have. And so be thoughtful about that because, you know, they'd rather you not make up an answer, but acknowledge if there's no data source, that you don't have a data source, but you're gonna develop a system where you can begin to collect that data source.
Yes, great point, because that in itself is an action step or a strategy or goal, is to gather the right data, which I think that happens a lot. And that's okay to say that you don't have all the data that you need. So thanks, Cindy. So this is just a reminder to think of the stakeholders that are involved in the development of the One Needs Assessment and One Plan, and to make sure that the information that you're putting in here is, I mean, this is where you get to tell the story of what your school is doing and what your district is doing. It's much more narrative now. You're able to give examples and just provide a lot more detail than you've ever been able to do in the past as far as needs assessment. So this is just talking about it leading to a quality plan. I think I have information in here, yes. So this is where I was going to show you the CCIP. This is where the One Needs Assessment, the One Needs Assessment page that ODE provides. So I think we put a lot of, I think we put a lot of these resources in the folder, but these are hot linked. There's a user manual, there's a glossary, there's a brief video, One Needs Assessment video, if you wanted to share that with your group of people that's getting together to work through the One Needs Assessment. There are frequently asked questions. This is the questions and triggers that I was speaking about. These are PDFs, I believe, but the one that we put in your folder for today is an Excel spreadsheet so that you can manipulate it a little bit, sort the questions that you're required to do. There is root cause analysis information on here. There's a root cause analysis training that ODE has put on YouTube. And then there's some additional One Needs Assessment training information as well. There's also a 2-hour YouTube video that ODE put together. So this is the information on the One Needs Assessment page. But I wanted to also show you, let me see if I put a slide in here. I thought I did. Okay, I didn't. So let's go back to, if you go, I wanted to show you where ODE is putting most of their information now in CCIP notes. They've been doing a lot of that lately. We put one of the CCIP notes in your folder, the most recent one, but I want to show you where to get those. And I apologize if all of you are already aware of this, but it helps me too to go through some of this numerous times. So once you're in your CCIP, you would go to your document library. And then this is where you can get all of this information. So there's a section on CCIP. And what I was referring to are the CCIP notes and monthly reminders. You'd have to go to the most current ones. So here is where they've been releasing a lot of information. So the most recent one that we put in your folder is note 461 around the One Plan release date and trainings. ODE is offering trainings on the One Plan. So we put that in your folder as well. What else do I think is important on here? Here's Ed Steps. This is where you'll find your one needs assessment information. So here's the glossary. All of this information that was on ODE's webpage is also in here in your CCIP document library. Office of Federal Programs has also been offering quite a lot of trainings on one needs assessment, on the one plan. So here's the one for cohorts. And here's the training slides if anyone's interested in that. But I just thought it was important to show where all of this information is being deposited by ODE for updates. Anything else I need to share from here, colleagues? Okay. Okay, so I guess what questions do you all have? I mean, I think that would be most important at this point. Do you want me to open up a one needs assessment? Do you have specific questions? Did this provide enough information to you? What would be most helpful at this point?
I'm manning the chat. I don't see anything yet.
I'm going to, we put our contact information on here as well from today. And then ODE's information as well.
We also
I'm gonna-
have a open office hours coming up so that if you get started and you run into questions or things like that, we also have that
Okay.
session available.
I can stop sharing this. If people have specific questions, they can feel free to unmute or put it in the chat box. It was a lot of information. I'm hoping that everybody had some understanding of it to begin with. And hopefully some of it answered some of your questions.
I'm also going to put a link to the survey and certificate of attendance in the chat as well. So make sure you fill that out for us before you go, please. We'd appreciate that.
And as we get new information, we'll put it in that Google folder, and you'll still have access to that folder. It's within our Google site, so you can check back frequently and see if we've added new information from ODE.
It says it is helpful to know that we can submit a plan to develop a data collection process for certain questions. Thank you. You are welcome, Natalie. Thanks for joining us.
I think that's been something that several districts I have spoken with have determined that maybe they don't have the right data, or they need a better way to get the proper types of data to help them with their improvement plans. So, yeah.
And when you develop that plan, those kinds of things may sit in an action step. I doubt it could possibly sit in a strategy, depending on what we're talking about when we talk about data. But I think it would also could possibly sitting in an action step.
Thank you.
So once you've completed your survey, If you don't have any other questions, I think you're good to go. If you have questions you want to hang around, we'll stay on the line here for a little bit.
Anything else anyone wants to share? I'm trying to think, I'm trying to see who else is on here from our office. Cindy, Barb, Steve, Greg. Anything else you have to add? I don't want to leave anybody out. Kim Brown,
No, Kim, I think you did a great job, Kim. Thanks.
thanks.
Nope. Thank you, Kim. You clarified a lot, even for me. Thank you.
Great. Okay. I will stop recording.
We got a lot of thank yous.